Hi, welcome to today's session. So more and more people are working from home now, taking themselves out of the office environment to working from home. And sometimes the setup at home versus the setup at work can be really different. So we can often find ourselves in less than ideal positions that we might spend hours and hours in. And I'm talking about things like rounded forward shoulders, head always being forward of the rest of the spine, and then often our eyes are completely fixed, looking at a screen for many hours a day, often straining the eye muscles. So this session is really designed to help release those areas of our spines, of our hips, so that we can feel good. Obviously, the most ideal situation is that we get up and move around as frequently as we can, but obviously on a really busy day that might not always be possible. So you can do this session as a quick release while you're sat down, and it will hopefully just help to improve any discomfort you might be getting in your neck, your shoulders, your upper back, or even down into your lower back. So just to start with, while you're sat on your seat, just notice where you are. Are you in front of your sitting bones? Are you behind them? Or could you just be right up on top of the sitting bones? And you can just find that. Once you feel like you are on top of your sitting bones, notice the rib cage. Is that forward or back of the pelvis? Could you imagine the three-dimensional structure of your ribs and how they sit directly on top of your pelvis? So they really, the rib cage moves all the way around the spine. And then on top you have your shoulders. You're not forcing your shoulders down, they're just resting on your rib cage, and your head is right up on top of your spine. And we're just going to start with a little bit of a neck and a shoulder release. So I want you from there just to start to turn your head over and look towards one wall, come through the middle, and then let your head look to the other wall. And sometimes straight away it's like, yeah, I can really look around one direction really far, but then I kind of get stuck when I go the other way. Don't force yourself into any ranges of movement, but just notice if it does feel different when you look to one side versus the other. And then this time we're going to think about using the eyes to lead the movement. So come back through the middle now. I want you to let your eyes start to lead the movement around. So the eyes start to look first and then your head follows the eyes. But let your eyes look really out into the distance. Focus on something that you can see really far away. Be aware of everything that's around you. And then retrace back in. Do the same the other way. Let the eyes lead, the head follows. And again, be aware of everything that's around you, everything that's in your peripheral vision, and then let your eyes lead to come back. So this is really good for the eye muscles if you've been focusing on small numbers or small text all day long. Your eye muscles are going to be looking in very close all the time. So just allow everything to broaden, look a little bit more widely, more spaciously. Again, let your eyes lead as you come back. One more time. Eyes lead the movement. And then come all the way back. So now when you come back through the middle, let your left ear go towards your left shoulder. And see how it feels on the opposite side of the neck. And then imagine you're really picking up your ear to come back. Now go the other way, tip your head to the right. Feel how that is on the opposite left side. Pick up the right ear to come back. So do the same, go back over now to your left. Take your left hand, bring that over the top of your head. Hold on to the side of your head. Think about the head and how you could reach the head into the hand. And then think about the eye muscles again now. So if you take your eyes down and then look down towards your left and then look down to your right and just alternate your eye gaze between left and right. Still looking down. Notice how it just sort of changes sensations around the neck. It might deepen sensations. Once your eyes return back, slide your hand now to where your skull and your neck meet. So you can think about just coming slightly behind your ear. Imagine drawing slightly up there as well. So it's like you're elongating your skull out of your neck. Not pulling, but more a feeling of lift. Do the same with your eyes. Let your eyes look to one side, look to the other. And then return your eyes down and then slide your hand away. Bring your head very slowly back up on top of your spine. Do a turn now of your head. One side, the other side, and then through center. Go the other way. Right side, right ear to right shoulder. Right hand goes over and holds on to the left side of the head. And then, again, like we did before, look down and to your right and look down and to your left, alternating your eye gaze. Continue to breathe fluidly. This can be a really good opportunity just to release the tongue, release the jaw, especially if you've had a more of a stressful day. And then creep the hand a little lower. So again, you're thinking about where the neck and the skull meet one another. You can often feel a ridge, so that's the occipital ridge. You can come underneath the occipital ridge, hold on there. Again, you feel like you've just elongated up the side of you a bit more. And then look down and right and down and left again. Just moving your eyes. And again, let the eye gaze be easy, so you're not necessarily focusing very strongly on anything in particular. You're just being curious. And then from there, let your eyes come back and release, and then come and bring your head slowly back up on top of your spine again. And then do the same thing, just go back into your head turn. And then come back. So now your head's back up on top of your spine. Just take a little tip of the head back. It can be quite nice here to bring the jaw together, not clenching, but just bring the lips together. And then come back. So you feel like a very sort of subtle tightening around the throat. Just twice more. Looking up. Bottom jaw meets top jaw. Back through the middle. One more. And then come all the way back. So from there, just go ahead now and do some rolls of your shoulders. So chances are the shoulders, as we sort of go through the day, they start to get higher up by the ears. Again, that can just be often the way that we sit, or again, like I said before, if you've got sort of a more of a high pressure day, lots of deadlines, again, the shoulders are more likely to sort of be up by the ears, and it tends to be the area where we hold on to the most amount of tension. Now roll forward. So you're just going to roll forward, roll back. This is where things can be a little bit crunchy, but just make sure, again, there's no sort of repetitive pain as you're doing it. And then let the shoulders just soften. Take your right hand and then hold on to the top of your shoulder blade. And if you imagine it's like a sponge, and you're just going to squeeze the water out of the sponge. So these are the upper traps, upper trapezius. Again, they might be the area where the tension starts to creep. So go easy if you feel like, whoa, okay, that's really tight. You're just going to see how that is. Just a gentle squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Again, like imagine you're squeezing the water out of a sponge. Notice if it springs back or how that feels. And then let it go. Go for your roll. Might feel a bit different. Go the other way now. Hold on to your opposite shoulder, and again, just go onto your little squeeze and release. So does it feel the same? Is the tone the same? Is there more tone on one side than there is on the other? And is that because of the way that I'm sitting, or is it just because I use that side more? And again, just sort of notice that as well. So keep squeezing and releasing, squeezing and releasing. That's it. You can kind of work on that if there's anywhere that feels, oh, I really need to get in there. So go in and you can find those little trigger points. And then let go back and roll. Yeah, it feels a little bit more balanced now. Well, it does for me anyway. So now when you've done that little bit of rolling, bring your fingers together, so interlace, and bring your arms directly up towards the ceiling. And just reach really tall. So you feel like your shoulder blades now, they slide more upwards. So they slide up in the direction of the ears. We maybe feel a bit longer through the sides of the waist, and then just slide down. So we reach up, the shoulders slide up. And then as we Come down, the shoulders slide down. And again, sometimes there's loads of movement, sometimes there's not very much. So if you found when you just did that little self-massage there wasn't very much, it was quite tight, then you might have a little bit less movement here. One more time, sliding up. And then coming back down. So now just release the arms. And then you're going to take your right hand and bring that behind the back of your head. So I'm going to mirror, so right hand goes behind the back of the head. Gently push the head into the hands rather than the head coming forward. And to do that, make sure the head hasn't come forward to get there. So can the hand just come behind the head without the head having to come forward of the spine? And then once you're there, start to tip your elbow up towards the ceiling. Think about your sitting bone, the bony bit in your bum, that's really dropping down into the seat. And then one side of your rib cage now is really fanned open. Breathe in deeply into this side of your body now. Breathing into your side ribs. Maybe it feels good to breathe into the armpit as well. One more breath here. And then reach the tip of your elbow up to come back. Now take your other hand behind your head. Again, hand comes to the head rather than head to the hand. Bring your other arm down. Now let your left elbow tip up. The opposite right elbow can bend. Again, have the elbow so it's in your peripheral vision. So if you are super flexible, it's still going to be slightly forward. And then breathe in and breathe out. So you're opening the opposite side now of your rib cage. One more breath here. And then come all the way up. And then take your two hands now, bring them onto your breastbone. Think about keeping your pelvis now very heavy. And the ribs are going to just be moving on the pelvis. I like to think of the pelvis as just really like a jam jar, and the ribs are the lid. So the ribs turn and the jar doesn't really move too much. So just start to rotate your ribs around in one direction, not forcing anything. If you imagine like the upward energy of a spiral, and then come back through the middle. Try it the other way. Rotate opposite direction. And then come back. And feel like when you're rotating, again, like, is it really easier to rotate in one direction than it is in the other? So imagine that going around towards your left, the right ribs have to come around towards the opposite hip. And then be very aware of the head and how that stays on top of your spine as you're rotating. We'll do this one more time. And then once you do come back through center, bring your arms now down and then have your hands come so that they're on your lap. We want to start to arch the back now, but we have to be mindful that the arching doesn't all come from the lower back. It's going to come more from the mid-back. So the thoracic spine, 12 ribs, I want you to think of the movement coming from your rib cage. Hands are on top of your knees. And then if you visualize the back of your heart area, imagine that started to come forward and through your chest. You just start to create this very gentle arch through your upper back. And then feel the lower front ribs, let them slide down to bring you back. Let's do this a few times. I'm going to turn to the side so it's easier to see. So again, back of the heart area shines forward through the breastbone. And we look up. And then we come back. So this might feel very active for you in your rib cage or in your upper back. Again, it's important, and I'll show you what we're kind of not wanting to do here is this. Not thrusting the ribs forward and sticking the bottom back to really arch the whole back. Again, it's much more isolated into the thoracic and the upper back, which is, again, is just really helpful if you are sat at your desk. One more time. Make sure you're breathing nice and fully. And then come back. So this time now we are going to move the pelvis and we're just going to let the ribs really follow that. So thinking about the sit bones, check you still feel like you're on top of your sitting bones, and then now start to roll behind them. Notice what that does for your lower back. The abdomen softens down, the lumbar spine gets longer. So think about sending the back of your waist behind you. Come back up. We're going to breathe out as we do this. So we'll breathe out, roll behind the sit bones, abdomen softens back, back of the waist nice and long and open. And then come back. So if you imagine that there's someone behind you and they've got a bungee cord around your waist, imagine they're behind you and they gave you a little tug. So they're really behind you, they're lengthening and pulling on the bungee cord. The back of your waist goes behind you, your tailbone is lengthening forward, and then you come back up again. And we'll do this twice more. I'm encouraging an exhale because that's great, because it's really working with the abdomen. We want the abdomen to be softening back rather than pushing forward. Last one. And then bring yourself all the way back up. So I hope you enjoyed that little sequence. Give it a go when you're at your desk and see if it helps to create just more freedom so that you can feel really good through your day. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time.